when you told me, I didn't really sort of register it. It was just like, yeah, okay. And, we've got a newborn, we've got 2 other daughters. There's quite a lot going on. And actually, it wasn't really, sorry, God. It wasn't really like my priority. I cared, but I also didn't give a shit at the same time, because so what? It was very much in that mindset of, okay, you've been diagnosed. It doesn't change who you are. I love you. So we'll get through this, whatever we needed to get through. And the diagnosis that you told me then was about autism. And at that time, I had a very naive understanding of what autism was, which was, you're not that social, highly intelligent, and acute attention to detail. That's what I kind of thought autism was. And that's me very naively thinking, very surface level of what autism was to me. So I kind of thought, yeah, okay, that sort of sounds like Ben. You do a lot of socializing with work. You're not a massive socializer when it comes to us. We like to go out, just you and I, family, etc. But you're not the big, party goer or whatever. Your attention to detail has always been amazing. You're a genius. Everything you touch turns to gold. Like, you are an incredible entrepreneur. So to me, I just didn't see a change. I didn't see that anything was going to change. And the priority then was Moss, the kids. We were in the process of moving house. It kind of I didn't sweep it under the carpet, but it was very much, okay, whatever, and let's get on to the next thing.
And I guess I found that difficult, didn't I? I found the fact that you didn't want to talk about it.
No, because you also had this huge, hundreds of page document that was your diagnosis report, which you kept sort of putting under my nose, being like, you need to read this, you'll understand my mind better. And I think as soon as you started doing that, I just didn't care. I didn't care what this report said. It was going to use a lot of long words. I, at that point, didn't have time to read it, which it's on my bad. Of course I should have had more time and should have been more supportive. But the way that my brain works is that the way that I understand something is by visual. So not this small printed document. It was very much like me on the side typing into Google, how do I deal with my husband's autism? And in that way, conversation starts with my friends who I'd speak to, but I just never reached out to you. And I think that looking back, it was really not wrong of me, but I definitely didn't show my support at the start. So, yeah, I'm sorry for that.
No, but I guess we sort of had this journey of not really communicating about it and not really talking about it.
It sort of became the elephant in the room, which it's so ridiculous because, when you and I first met when we were 21, we had this fantastic relationship as friends, as lovers, and a quite difficult, not a normal relationship, and we were at very different stages of our lives. And all I knew is that I really, really loved you. Somewhere in me, just couldn't forget this bond that I had with you. And you didn't stop partying. And I did, and I traveled. Yeah. At the most crucial, darkest time of your life, like, we held on to each other. And I got you through many a darker times together. And I could handle it. I got you through it. And I knew that I could see that light at the end of the tunnel. I knew that you were going to get better. I knew that you weren't going to be this party animal forever. I could see that you were going to be good at something. So I could see the change. I knew that it was going to end for you and you were going to do something so remarkable. But I had to love and let you go. But when you were diagnosed, the struggle that I had, it was because I saw such a change in you, mentally, physically, everything about you just changed. And I thought, you're not going to get any, not better, but you're not going to change. This is you. This is you with your complete mask off. And I think at that time I was like, how did I get you through rehab? How did I get you through all these times of your life? I cannot seem to push past this struggle that I had with your diagnosis.
I remember you saying that it's one thing you saying, oh, I'm autistic. The next thing was, I mean, the way you said it was like acting autistic, like I was being autistic.
I know, and I don't even know if I'm able to say that.
Of course you can say that.
I swept it under the carpet because it wasn't going to change my view on you. I thought you were going to just be you, the Ben that I always have known. And then it was like 48 hours later, there was like an actual change in you. And at that point, I was just like, I feel so removed from you. And I needed you by my side because Moss was born, family life. But I felt like I was getting to know you again, which is really, really hard. I almost just wanted it to go. Like your addiction was to go. Your rehab stints were to go. And I could get you through all of that. I could get you through all of that. But this diagnosis where you actually shut down from me, where you acted autistic, wasn't your fault, but it was so difficult. You would travel with work, you had your routine, you had everything the same. And you'd come back and you'd have these shutdowns, which we didn't know what they were at the time. And I'm such a old romantic that, if you've been away from each other, you sort of fling your arms open and the kids run to you and we put our arms around each other. But the physical change in you was that you just couldn't cope. You needed that time to sort of switch off, to then be with us, which I found so difficult. And the shutdowns wouldn't just be for an hour or so, it would be days. You would be not really speaking, no emotion, not tactile, very logistical, very practical. So I couldn't argue that you didn't you didn't help around the house or whatever, but what I wanted, or what we and the kids wanted, was you to be with us. So I don't know how we somehow got past those shutdowns. Or maybe we just recognized it a bit more. But that was hard. That was really hard. And that actually felt extremely lonely from my side, because I blamed your autism me right off. Because it's not going anywhere, right? I can't just be like, oh, he'll get over this. It was, as you've said before in your podcasts, you've been given that key to freedom. You're unmasked. Like, how wonderful. And I am genuinely so happy that you live your life now as you, because I know that you struggled for so many years. And this is you. You've done an amazing job. You still do an amazing job. You're an incredible husband, father. But I just find it really difficult.
And is it difficult all the time?
It's not difficult. I wouldn't use that word anymore. Or
it was difficult?
It was difficult, yeah, because it was the unknown.
It was new.
But reading your diagnosis report wasn't going to make it any easier. The way that we had to deal with this was being together, communicating. But when you're quite bad at communicating, because this is what Ben does. He asks questions in his head and thinks he's asked me the question and is waiting for me to answer. That's the communication side of things when it's not great. So there are slight adjustments that I've made where things become manageable,
What kind of adjustments?
So change of plans for you is really a big deal. And my mindset and my personality is so different. It's so opposite. I am all about being spontaneous. I don't mind going to new places, meeting new people. I love small talk. It couldn't be further from your reality. And I think what I have done for the last 18 months is just shift and be a bit more mindful and think more ahead. So I'm not going to just land, a plan on you last minute. It has to be, managed, and we communicate. We make that bit more of an effort with each other. So I think it's working, right?
Yeah, I think, from the end of 2022, when I'd been assessed, we've got, little Moss having just been born, me trying to get my head around what all of this means, you trying to get your head around what all this means, and us disconnected on it. And I guess on reflection, both of us, if I look at the picture looks like us both alone dealing with it on our own and not talking. And I found that really confusing. And I know I said to you, I found that really confusing because it was this big thing in my life that I was trying to come to terms with and kind of go, just what the hell does this all mean? I kept wanting to connect with you on it. And I kept wanting to, given that I'm pretty private and I have lots of people that I know, but I don't have that close knit support network. You're that key kind of support. So I was sort of, I wanted to keep trying to engage with you on it. And then because you didn't want to, I didn't know. I really genuinely didn't. And I know I said all this to you, but I didn't understand. I didn't understand why you couldn't talk to me about it. I guess I then went to a place of, I didn't know what you thought about the fact that I was autistic, in the sense of, and I've now got, the stat that's out there of 85% that are married to neurodivergent people, 85% of those marriages end in divorce. And so I was at a place where I was kind of like, I feel quite fragile with this. Yeah, it's okay. It's great. It gives me an explanation for lots of things, but actually the most important person in my life, I don't know where I stand with. And so that left me feeling vulnerable and fragile, in the sense of just being like, do you still want to be with me? Do you still love me? Does this change how you feel about me? And now, I'm really proud of us and I'm really proud of you, because me being autistic is not a separate thing. It's not an elephant in the room. We talk about and communicate about everything.
But I think I didn't want to talk to you about it. You being autistic wasn't going to define you in my eyes. I didn't want to keep going on about it. I didn't want the label to be stuck in front of you and that's all we talk about. The reality is that you've been diagnosed, you're autistic, but life goes on. And at that time, shortly after you were diagnosed, we went through a very personal, long drawn out court proceeding, which absolutely floored us on top of everything else. And at that time, I was too emotionally invested to digest that all, and life and you. But where your superpower came in was you took that emotion out and you read through the vast amount of documents with a fine tooth comb, and you were an absolute genius with it. And that was you being autistic, seeing the blueprint, taking the emotion out of it, and actually gaining us such a huge win that it was immense. It was just that sort of, I don't know whether it sort of came to us at a very poignant time, but I needed you at that point to show me what you're capable of. This sounds strange, but you being autistic really saved us. It really did, because I couldn't have done it on my own. I'm too emotional. I needed someone to see things black and white. And really, that was the start of it being like, we are a really good team. We can do this. It's just, our life is chaotic. 3 dogs, 3 girls, moving house, court case. Like, it was just thrown in.
River in hospital,
having her eyebrow reconstructed. It was just, but we got through it. And just like you, your mind works different. And with me, my mind works slower and different. So I never not wanted to talk about it. I just knew that it would be spoken about in a natural way.
I wanted the structure of, right, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through this, and here's the diagnostic report, and here's the practicalities and the analytics on it. I wasn't even thinking about the emotion.
No.
The emotion attached to it.
But that's all I was thinking of. I didn't give a shit about all that grey, boring written words, and that's not boring, and it's not. That's everything to you. But at the time, I just needed you to know that it's not going to be how you want it to be spoken about. And I'm just thankful that 18 months down the line, I can actually be here, comfortable in knowing that I am being supportive. And I'm understanding of it, but it has taken me a while. But also, it's all right to go through those motions, right? I think that I felt very guilty to sort of say the things like, I feel really alone. When will this end? Like, is he going to get better? Is it always going to be like this? Because I like to go to parties, I like to do all of these spontaneous things, but it's never going to happen.
Let's talk about socializing. Or lack of, in my case.
Well, there's always a taxi for one, and that's me getting ready, me going to parties on my own. And look, I don't mind, right? As long as I've got a close knit of friends who understand, and they're always waiting for me at the front, and they take me in. But it's hard. It's hard because I am a social butterfly, and I love all of that. And I would love nothing more than to stand next to you and show you off and meet this infamous Ben. But I know that it also makes you anxious, and it's not for you. So I accept that. I didn't accept it. I got pissed off because you do that with work. Like, you're always going to these mega events and you're speaking to thousands of people. Small talk is always just, you're good at it. You're really good. So then why don't I get it in my time with you? As sad as it was, I think I said to you, can you not just see this party as work? That's not what you should be saying to your husband going to a friend's 40th. But it's okay, I know that you would come if it really meant a lot to me. I've not given up on asking you, and my friends always invite you. Mm-hmm. And I've given up giving the excuses. You got work, or it's
you don't need to now.
I don't need to now. I would still really like you to come to this 40th.
Just as an aside.
But it's okay. I mean, you know, when we host at home, you're great. It's just managing of.
But I do also want people to go, right?
Go where?
Leave. There is also.
Oh, yes, I know. But don't want to say that because then people won't come to the house.
No, but I know that I can be quite abrupt on, okay, it's time to go now, everybody.
So it's easier for you to have people at the house because you can escape. You can go and do the dogs, or you can go and make excuses. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can do a bit of an exit, but also just to make sure that there's what time of the expectations are there of like, okay, they're leaving then.
Yes.
Rather than it being open-ended.
Yeah, but you could go to a party and just slip out.
Yeah, but I'm not going to come to a party for 20 minutes and then leave on my own and leave you there.
I'll be fine.
Okay, maybe we should try that.
It would just be nice to go together. That's all I want, is to go together. You know, so many years I was on my own. And I'm so proud of you. I'm proud to show you off. I'm proud of being like, I'm married to Ben. You know, Ben is the father of our kids. That's what I want. I don't expect you to stay with me until the bitter end on the dance floor. I don't expect that. I just would love nothing more than just going with you to something.
I know. Let's talk about parenting. What kind of parent would you say I am?
You're quite cutthroat. Like, you're very black and white when it comes to, you don't feed the emotion of the kids. You know, I'm sort of the softer one who will pander to their needs, whereas you're quite old school, which is it's good that you're that and I'm the way that I am. There's a good balance between the two. I can't fault your parenting. We're both new at it. It's not easy and it's challenging, but I think you want to teach the kids all the outdoor nature, the ins and outs of everything, the blueprint of everything, which the kids lap up. They love it. I think that you are definitely being the father figure that you didn't have so much when you were growing up. And you are just incredible.
I take being a father, I take it really serious. I take it really seriously.
I know, but you also put a lot of pressure on yourself. You don't need to do that. You don't need to put all this pressure on you, because actually it's in you. You are incredibly paternal. You know, it's okay not to put that pressure on yourself. It's okay to not see there doesn't always have to be this structure of in 5 years' time, or sometimes just let it be for a bit. I know that's probably completely out of your range, but we're very, very different. But then the basis, the good structure, is similar. So I think that we're a good team. It's just sometimes we can be so far apart. But this is where the communication needs to be better.
I know that previous to being diagnosed, communication was a challenge, but we didn't really realize it was. And then post being diagnosed, initially, communication, a real challenge. And I feel like it's the biggest thing that we've worked on. And
but there's no choice. We don't have a choice, because this is going back to what we said before. You were diagnosed. You've got this key to your freedom. I don't have an instruction book. You know, I don't want you to be masked when you're married to me, or masked when, at times being in your safe space at home. And I think that's maybe what people struggle with, is that it's the acceptance of it. We, on our side, have to accept it almost immediately, because otherwise you drift really far apart.
One of the myths that I've certainly learned and seen is that autistic people aren't capable of love, and autistic people aren't capable of empathy. What's your experience been?
God. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because you can and do love really, like, with all your heart and more. This is the pressure that you put on yourself. You have the biggest heart that I know. You're the most generous person. So I don't believe that. I feel sorry for that label to be given. You show your love in so many ways. So I don't like that, actually. And empathy-wise, it's different, right? I think that the love is always there, but the empathy, yeah, I can relate to. Sometimes you struggle to understand the emotion on the other side. And that's okay. That's because you compensate with the love that you have. So I don't take it personally. I don't think I know. You definitely know how to love. So I don't ever want you to question that.
No, I don't agree with. I don't agree with it. It doesn't ring true for me anyway. Love, absolutely not. Like, I know that I love, and I know that I can fall in love and be in love and really love, cherish and value and look after. The empathy thing, is harder. So I think I can be empathetic, but I find it harder. I sort of feel like I find it easier to be empathetic towards the children.
Mm. Do you think that because you know that I am perhaps too much?
Maybe. I think I do really want to protect them, and I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I really, 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 really don't want anything bad to happen to them. But it's a conflict because I'm so, I'm so keen that they take responsibility. I'm so keen that they are independent, and I'm so keen for them to explore and take risks and challenge themselves. So yeah, I feel like I'm constantly in this sort of push and pull of wanting to shield them and just hold them and keep them safe. And definitely, and on reflection, my autism wants to, I see it with like their breakfast or their lunch or bedtime or bath time. I want to impress upon them my routine, which is this is what you're having for breakfast, or this is what we do next. Wanting to, I don't know, like keep them safe by giving them that structure and routine that's not necessarily the right thing to do and not necessarily what they need. And then being ADHD, I sort of, I want Albie to, jump on a horse, and I want, Riv to know how to use a penknife.
But none of the things that you do are forced. It's not like you've got a checklist and you're telling your kids to do this. It's just our way of life. Like this is why I'm saying you don't have to put that pressure on you. Yes, it's structure, but it comes naturally. The kids are all completely in awe of you. So whatever you do, they do. So you're a great dad.
Thank you.
But yeah, your ADHD, we've not spoken about.
No, we haven't. Let's chat a bit about that.
So when you told me about that, maybe sort of 3-4 months after?
6 months, I think.
I just wasn't shocked. And actually, I can sort of, the ADHD in you, I immediately loved, because I knew, of course you are. You are 0 to 100 miles an hour. And I love that, because this is the way that we live our life and have done since we were young. We've, darted from one place to another and traveled here and made these decisions, and it's all very quick and fast paced, and I love that. And your ideas, your creative input to things, your ability to, well, like this, you were diagnosed and then you set up a charity. I mean, who does that? You just did it. It's just, that's you, and that's what's driven you. And I love that. And I could somehow, compared to the autism, I jumped on that, and I immediately got it. I understood it. And it's great. And why could I deal with your ADHD more so with your autism? I don't know. But looking back and reflecting much of the past, you were an extremely clever autistic genius. For many of your events in your life, you used your magical power. And at the time, you didn't know that. And you saw the blueprint. And of course, you were this autistic genius. Fantastic. Wow. And I think that you really were meant to be here to tell this side of it. And I've gone through that past with you. I've gone through that, the hellraiser in you, the sadness in you. I've been with you with that. And looking back, it kind of was very beautiful in a sense that you're here now telling your side. I am just so thankful that you just stayed alive. So the kids can see how amazing you are. You are mega. And you're giving people a platform here to share how they feel. And it's, this journey that we've had it's not all been positive. And it's okay. It's really okay. It's okay to feel alone. I definitely have dealt with this and dealing with this to this day. It's every day is something. And I just know that I'm better now, understanding, thanks to listening to people's stories and for me to get a better understanding of it all.
Do you think the podcast has helped you understand more?
Yeah, I definitely. It's people's stories. Every story is different. Even if you've got two people dealing with autism and ADHD, how they deal with it and what they go through is fascinating. But what I noticed was there was no the other side, and I kept sort of thinking, but what about us? What about the people who don't have an instruction book? What about the people who don't have a diagnosis to get that freedom?
What do you think people listening who have partners, wives, husbands, etc., what do you think they need to hear?
That it's okay to think all of those things that you shouldn't say because you feel bad because your partner's being diagnosed with something. It's not going away. It's all right to flush out all of those feelings and just be honest. It's okay to admit that you feel alone. But the key thing is to vocalize that with your partner, not just your friends and family, but with your partner. You may, in your mind, know the diagnosis inside and out. But for us, we don't. All we want to hear is, it's going to be okay. So communication is just the most important, and not to shy away from each other, because that's when you drift.
Do you feel like you know me?
I think I know you, yes. I think that there's probably a lot more of you that I need to know, but that's good, isn't it? Because that's why we're going to be married for the next 100 years. But it's okay not to know all of you. And it means that the next 50 years, we've got an exciting adventure.
I can't believe sometimes you're my wife.
Oh, I take that as a good thing.
Yeah, no. In a lucky, amazing, incredible, I think you're amazingly supportive. And I do think, like, communication, like we're in the best place we've been. I do think we've made a lot of progress,
yes.
Basically, is what I'm saying. Well done us.
Well done.
Pats on the back, chest bumps and high fives.
But thank God that we've got, because it could have gone the other way of it.
Yeah.
Just when
we
it
could
was
have been
bad,
the 85%.
Yeah.
divorce statistic, you know.
But I'm just so thankful that we got through it. So this is what I'm saying, that it can get so bad before it gets better, because you're effectively living with another character. We have to adapt our life to this new character. That's very black and white, but that's true.
But I'm not a new character. I'm just more me than I've ever been. You know, Renata said, congratulations, you're autistic. And I know that I sort of felt that, and that was amazing to hear. And I know that I felt like I had permission to sort of drop some of the mask and get the explanation and be more of myself. But that's not also been a bed of roses. And that's been, I guess, the internal grappling and reflecting and thinking back over stuff, or just over analyzing, you know, the whole kind of merry-go-round of just processing that. And sometimes I can process things really quick, and sometimes actually, you know, you ask me a very simple question and I don't even know what to answer or what you've said.
Do you feel you are over 90% unmasked? Do you feel you are you?
I feel like it's becoming more normal for me to just be me. And I feel like I'm giving myself more permission to be myself and to voice what I need, rather than just going along with stuff or doing things for other people, or just managing the anxiety, but sort of doing what I need.
Because I definitely see a side of you that is so much lighter and brighter from you doing this podcast. I think that you have had quite a journey, and being by your side throughout all of that, I'm definitely seeing you as a much happier soul now. You know, last year when you were very ill and you had your heart surgery and you kind of lost your way because you couldn't do anything. You know, you were days and days, weeks and weeks and months just not able. And I think that at the end of that, that's when you had the idea of the hidden 20%. And I think it's kind of lifted you to this next chapter in your life. And I'm thankful, very thankful for this, because it's made you. And I think that each time you have a guest on, you seem so much more, not confident, but you just look a bit more you.
This has definitely been a cathartic process, learning how to host and taking on the challenge of, what we're doing as a non-profit and as a team. I feel like we're more in a rhythm than ever before. And of course, like, the feedback is all, amazing validation of what we're doing, which puts my tail up and gives me more confidence. But I do think having you as the guest for the last episode for series 1, I think is, it's been a really different episode to what people have heard with other people's stories. And I think that's really important for two things. One, I think it's a really amazing thing to do for our relationship, to have this time together, although it's being recorded and there's, Bella and Charlie and Andreas in another room there.
I know, but I feel like we're just in a little vortex of our own.
Exactly. We're just in this little bubble. So I'm really grateful for that. And then I'm really excited about people hearing this and people hearing what you've got to say and how it's been for you, because what you've said today has been the truth and it's been real, and it's not, oh yeah, it's all amazing. And it's also not, oh my God, it's all dreadful. And that's the truth. It's a balance. And in a weird, very strange, weird way to say to your wife, like, I've really enjoyed talking to you about it,
Yeah, I think this is probably the first time we've shared and spoken without getting into an argument.
Yeah.
Because we're both stubborn.
We are both you are very stubborn. I know I'm stubborn, but you are very stubborn.
But can I, just say at the very beginning of this podcast, you said I was your best friend.
Yeah.
And you really are, like, more than that. You're like my soulmate. I'm just very thankful that you are able to stand by my side, because I do come along with a lot of baggage. And I've got you to thank wholeheartedly for, is that you have got me through some of the really tough times, because you do take the emotion out of it and you do tell me the practical side of things, the logistical side of things. So I am eternally grateful that you put me back on track, because if I didn't have that, I'd be worrying, getting anxious about the smallest things. So
we're a team.
We're a team.
So last thing, what did you bring for the shelf?
I bought Kurt Cobain for your little shelf. He was my first crush, and Kurt Cobain is ADHD.
Was.
Oh God, yes, and I know. Yes, he was.
Newsflash.
Rest in peace. He was ADHD, and he was just a really big part of my growing up and my first crush. Loads of posters on my wall. And I guess you're my last crush. So I love you and I loved him. And I want you to put that on your shelf, because he's mega.
Thank you.